The massive Imperial Scout fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Captain Reed of the Imperial First Contact Vessel, Starseeker, smiled confidently. This would be another routine annexation, just like the hundreds before it. His crew prepared the standard first contact protocols, not knowing they were about to face something entirely different. 3 weeks earlier, deep within the hidden chambers of Earth's Defense Command, red lights had begun flashing. Admiral James Walker stood before a massive holographic display, watching as Earth's quantum detection grid tracked the incoming Imperial fleet. "Right on schedule," he said, his weathered face showing a hint of a smile. For 30 years, humanity had prepared for this moment. While the Empire had expanded across the galaxy, Earth had watched, learned, and prepared. The Empire never questioned why this small sector of space seemed empty of advanced civilizations. They never realized that Earth's stealth technology had hidden not just their homeworld, but their entire solar system. Humanity had worked in secret, unified by the knowledge that one day they would need to stand against the Empire's endless expansion. Now, as the Imperial fleet approached Mars orbit, Admiral Walker pressed a small button on his command console. "Begin Operation Firewall." Across the solar system, hidden satellites and defense platforms hummed to life. Quantum computers processed data at unimaginable speeds, coordinating the most ambitious defensive display in human history. Captain Reed's first sign that something was wrong came when his navigation officer reported strange readings. The space ahead of them seemed to shimmer. Suddenly, a massive holographic wall materialized before their fleet. It stretched for millions of kilometers in every direction, a feat of engineering that should have been impossible. On its surface, glowing letters appeared in every known language of the galaxy, and thousands more that the Empire's computers couldn't recognize. Access DNID, Restricted Space, Earth Defense Parameter. Turn back immediately. Impossible, Reed whispered. His ship's sensors showed no physical barrier, yet when he ordered his helmsman to proceed, their engines simply stopped. Not through any violent means. They just ceased functioning, as if politely asked to take a break. Across the fleet, ships reported the same phenomenon. Their weapons wouldn't charge. Their communication systems only worked for internal ship broadcasts. Even their emergency beacons refused to activate. "Sir," his second-in-command pointed at a new message appearing on the holographic wall. "Look, your technologies have been temporarily suspended. No harm will come to your crews. You have exactly 1 hour to turn around and leave this solar system. This is not a negotiation." Reed felt sweat on his forehead as he watched small drones emerge from seemingly nowhere, surrounding his fleet. They were unlike anything the Empire had ever encountered, sleek, silent, and completely immune to their sensors. In the Defense Command Center, Admiral Walker watched the Imperial ships through multiple camera feeds. "Send the final message," he ordered. The holographic wall shifted again, now showing a simple video. It displayed Imperial ships throughout the galaxy, annexing worlds, spreading their influence. Then it showed Earth's probes, secretly recording everything for decades. The message was clear. "We know everything about you, but you know nothing about us." The Imperial fleet received one last message. "The Earth is not available for conquest, negotiation, or Imperial expansion. We have observed your Empire's actions across the galaxy and have decided to decline participation in your civilization. This solar system is now permanently closed to Imperial vessels. Attempt to enter again, and your ships will be permanently deactivated." Captain Reed looked at his chronometer. 50 minutes had passed since their systems were disabled. With shaking hands, he gave the order to retreat as soon as their systems reactivated. For the first time in Imperial history, a first contact mission ended in retreat. As the Imperial ships disappeared into hyperspace, Admiral Walker turned to his staff. "Send word to the UN Security Council," he said calmly. "Phase 1 is complete. Earth remains free." Around him, The Defense Command erupted in cheers. Humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy, not with violence, but with an impenetrable wall and a simple message: keep out. The Imperial Palace on Centauri Prime buzzed with angry voices. Emperor William stood at his window, staring at the endless city that stretched across the planet's surface. Behind him, his military commanders argued loudly about the failed first contact with Earth. Impossible. General Stone slammed his fist on the marble table. No civilization could have hidden from us for so long. Our deep space scans cover every sector. Admiral Thompson, formerly Earth's UN representative and now their diplomatic messenger to the Empire, stood calmly at the other end of the room. His gray hair and simple blue uniform stood out among the flashy Imperial decorations. "You only saw what we wanted you to see," Thompson said with a slight smile. "While your ships conquered worlds, our stealth satellites watched. While you built warships, we studied your technologies. Earth chose to remain hidden, and we did it perfectly." The Emperor turned from his window. "Show us," he commanded. Thompson pulled out a small silver sphere from his pocket. It floated into the air and projected a series of images. The Imperial commanders watched in stunned silence as they saw their own secret military bases, recorded over decades. They saw their classified ship designs, their private meetings, even their most secure facilities. "This is just a small sample," Thompson explained. "Earth has maintained invisible observation posts throughout your empire for the past 50 years. We know every weakness, every strength, and every secret you have." The images changed to show Mars and Europa. The Imperial leaders gasped as they saw massive human cities hidden beneath the surfaces of these worlds. Thousands of ships moved between them, using technology that made them invisible to Imperial sensors. "While you thought we were primitive," Thompson continued, "we built our own solar empire. But unlike you, we chose to grow through cooperation, not conquest." General Stone's face turned red with anger. "Why reveal yourselves now? Why not stay hidden?" Thompson's expression grew serious. "Because your expansion needs to stop. We've watched you absorb civilization after civilization. Some joined willingly, others through force. Earth has decided to draw a line." The Emperor raised his hand for silence. "And if we choose not to respect this line?" Thompson touched his silver sphere again. The projection showed the recent encounter at the edge of the solar system. The Imperial commanders watched their mighty ships rendered helpless by Earth's defenses. "That was just a demonstration," Thompson said quietly. "Those drones were running at 5% power. Earth doesn't want war, Emperor William. We simply want to be left alone. And we have the power to ensure that happens." A young Imperial officer spoke up from the corner. "But our long-range scans show no unusual energy signatures from Earth's direction. How are you hiding everything?" Thompson smiled again. "The same way we've hidden for decades. Your scanning technology is based on detecting power emissions. We learned to build everything using zero-point energy. To your sensors, we're practically invisible." The Emperor walked slowly to his throne and sat down. For the first time in his reign, he looked uncertain. "What are your demands?" "No demands," Thompson replied. "Just a notice. The solar system is now officially closed to Imperial ships. Any unauthorized entry will be met with the same response your scout fleet received. We're happy to establish diplomatic relations, but only through neutral space stations that will help build." As Thompson turned to leave, he paused at the door. "Oh, and Emperor, those observation posts I mentioned, they're still watching. Earth believes in trust, but we also believe in verification." The door closed behind Thompson, leaving the Imperial leadership in stunned silence. Outside, in the palace gardens, Thompson allowed himself a small grin. Phase 2 was complete. The Empire now knew that Earth wasn't just hiding. It was hiding something big. Back on Earth, Admiral Walker received Thompson's encrypted quantum transmission. "The message has been delivered," he told the UN Security Council. Now we wait to see how the Empire reacts to finding out they're not the biggest fish in the pond anymore. Across the solar system, Earth's hidden defenses remained vigilant. The Empire had received its second warning. The next move was theirs. Professor Anna Miller walked through her quantum laboratory on Europa, her footsteps echoing in the vast underground chamber. Behind the thick glass windows, streams of light danced between crystalline structures, forming the heart of Earth's quantum communication network. A group of Imperial scientists stood nearby, their faces showing a mix of awe and disbelief. Earth's government had finally agreed to show them one of their less sensitive facilities, and what they saw shattered their understanding of physics. "Your fastest communication systems rely on tachyon bursts," Anna explained, adjusting her simple lab coat. "They take hours to reach across your empire. Our quantum network is instant. No delay, no signal decay, and completely impossible to intercept." One of the Imperial scientists, Dr. Wells, stepped forward. "But the energy requirements must be enormous." Anna smiled and pointed to a small silver cube on her desk, no bigger than a coffee mug. "That powers this entire facility. 0-point energy, perfectly controlled. We solved that puzzle 30 years ago." In orbit above them, the Imperial science vessel's sensors tried desperately to understand what they were seeing. But Earth's technology operated on principles their instruments couldn't even detect. Meanwhile, in a secure room thousands of kilometers away, Admiral Walker watched multiple holographic screens. They showed Imperial spy ships trying to sneak past Earth's defense grid. The attempts were almost amusing. "Track but don't intercept," he ordered his staff. "Let them see exactly what we want them to see." The spy ship's sensors would find carefully crafted decoys, enough to convince the Empire that they had discovered something, but nothing that revealed Earth's true capabilities. It was a dance that Earth's military had perfected over decades of hiding. Back in the Europa facility, Anna led her visitors to a massive testing chamber. "This is where we develop our shield technology," she explained. "Would you like a demonstration?" She pressed a button, and a shimmer appeared in the air. "Fire your strongest weapon at it," she invited. Dr. Wells pulled out an Imperial plasma pistol, smuggled in despite the strict security protocols. His hand shook as he fired at the shield. The blast, capable of melting through battleship armor, simply vanished. "The energy is not blocked or absorbed," Anna explained calmly, ignoring the illegal weapon. "It's redirected into subspace. We can move any form of energy away from our ships and facilities. That's why your weapons can't harm us." In the observation room above, Military Intelligence Officer Tom Baker watched the Imperial scientists' reactions. Their shocked faces told him everything he needed to know. The Empire's best minds were realizing just how far behind they really were. "Send the next report to command," he spoke quietly into his communicator. "Phase 3 is proceeding as planned. They're starting to understand." Across the solar system, Earth's technological superiority became more apparent every day. The Imperial observers discovered that humans had colonized not just Mars and Europa, but had built massive facilities throughout the asteroid belt. Every rock larger than a kilometer contained human technology, all of it invisible to Imperial sensors. In his office on Earth, the UN Secretary-General reviewed the latest reports. Imperial ships were retreating from the borders of human space. Their spies were giving up, frustrated by defenses they couldn't understand. Earth's message was clear. "We are not just hiding. We are beyond your reach." Anna finished her tour by showing the Imperial scientists something simple, a children's science project. Young students had built a small device that broke down waste into pure elements, producing free energy in the process. It was basic technology by Earth's standards, something they'd mastered generations ago. "This is why we stayed hidden," she told her stunned visitors. "We saw which path your empire had chosen, conquest through force. Earth chose a different path. We built our technology to help people, not to rule them." As the Imperial scientists left Europa that day, they carried with them a troubling realization. Earth hadn't just caught up to the Empire's technology. They had surpassed it long ago. The gap wasn't just wide. It was growing wider every day. Phase 3 was complete. The Empire now knew that Earth's ban on their entry wasn't just political. It was enforced by technology they couldn't hope to match. The Imperial battle fleet emerged from hyperspace near Saturn's rings. 5,000 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled in Imperial history, filled the space around the giant planet. Grand Admiral Ross stood on his flagship's bridge, watching as his forces prepared for the attack that would teach Earth a lesson. "No more games," he growled. "No more diplomatic talks. Today we show them real power." Deep within Titan's hidden base, Commander Robert Wilson watched the Imperial fleet's arrival on his quantum displays. He didn't look worried. In fact, he was smiling. "They really brought everything, didn't they?" he said to his crew. "Send the alert to Earth Command. Begin Operation Shattered Crown." Across the solar system, hidden defensive platforms activated. The rings of Saturn, which had concealed thousands of Earth's automated defense units, began to shimmer. The Imperial fleet's first warning came when their long-range sensors stopped working. Then their shields flickered and died. Finally, their weapons systems went dark. "What's happening?" Ross demanded, watching as his mighty fleet became nothing more than floating metal. A holographic message appeared on every ship in the Imperial fleet. "Final warning. You have entered restricted space. Prepare for system-wide shutdown." Ross laughed. "They're bluffing. All ships, full attack speed. Launch all fighters." The Imperial fighters never left their bays. Every electronic system on every ship suddenly shut down, leaving only life support and basic gravity active. 5,000 ships, carrying millions of Imperial troops, hung helpless in space. From within Saturn's rings, Earth's defense platforms emerged. They were beautiful, sleek vessels that glowed with soft blue light. They moved between the Imperial ships like dancers, not firing a single shot. Instead, they began to herd the Imperial fleet. Using gentle gravitational pulses, they pushed the helpless ships into a massive holding pattern. It looked like a strange ballet in space. 5,000 of the galaxy's most powerful warships being moved around like chess pieces by vessels a fraction of their size. Commander Wilson's voice echoed through every Imperial ship. "Your vessels have been temporarily disabled. We could destroy them, but that's not Earth's way. Instead, you're going to watch a demonstration." The defense platforms surrounding Saturn began to pulse with energy. The rings of the planet itself started to move, rearranging themselves into complex patterns. Imperial crews watched in awe as billions of tons of ice and rock danced to Earth's command. "What you're seeing," Wilson continued, "is precise control over gravity itself. We can do this to any matter, at any scale. Your ships, your weapons, even your atoms move only because we allow them to." In his flagship, Ross gripped his command chair. For the first time in his life, he felt true fear. This wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration of power so far beyond the Empire's understanding that it bordered on magic. A small drone appeared on his bridge, projecting a hologram of Admiral Walker. "Consider this your practical education, Grand Admiral Ross. Earth doesn't need weapons to defend itself. We control the fundamental forces of the universe." Walker's hologram smiled. "Now you have a choice. Your ships will regain power in 1 hour. You can either leave our solar system and never return, or," he paused, "we can demonstrate what happens when we do more than just turn things off." The hologram vanished, leaving Ross staring at his useless controls. Around his fleet, Saturn's rings had been transformed into a massive warning symbol, visible from every ship. 1 hour later, power returned to the Imperial fleet. Without a word, Ross ordered a full retreat. As his ships flowed into hyperspace, he realized a terrible truth. Earth hadn't just defeated the Empire's greatest fleet. They had done it without firing a single shot. Back on Titan, Commander Wilson watched the Imperial fleet vanish. "Phase 4 complete," he reported to Earth Command. "The Empire now knows that their military power means nothing here. All that cost us was a small power bill and some shifted ice in Saturn's rings. The Battle of Saturn's Rings, as it came to be known, marked the day the Empire learned that some powers are best left undisturbed. Earth's message was now crystal clear. We don't fight because we don't need to. News of the Battle of Saturn's Rings spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the Imperial capital, the streets were filled with whispers. 5,000 ships defeated without a single shot fired. The Empire's greatest fleet turned into floating metal by powers they couldn't understand. Ambassador David Anderson sat in the newly constructed neutral space station, watching representatives from 30 different alien civilizations argue about what had happened. The station hung in space exactly halfway between Earth's solar system and the Empire's nearest colony. "How can we trust an empire that can't even protect its own fleet?" shouted the representative from the Proxima colonies, his voice carrying across the circular chamber. "The real question," said the delegate from Alpha Centauri, "is why should we remain under Imperial control when Earth has shown there's another way?" Anderson stayed quiet, watching the Empire's influence crumble in real time. Earth hadn't planned this part. It was happening all on its own. Fear of the Empire was being replaced by something new: hope. In his private office on the station, Anderson received a quantum call from Admiral Walker. "How are they taking it?" Walker asked. "Better than we expected," Anderson replied. The Empire's hold on these systems was always based on fear and military power. Now that we've shown their ships can be stopped so easily, everyone's questioning everything. A small light flashed on Anderson's desk. Another system was requesting Earth's protection. That made 15 in the past week alone. Meanwhile, on the Imperial throne world, Emperor William faced his own crisis. His advisors had brought more bad news. 3 major mining systems had declared independence, and 2 more were threatening to follow. "We could send the fleet," General Stone suggested, but his voice lacked conviction. Everyone in the room remembered what had happened at Saturn, and risk another demonstration of Earth's power. The Emperor asked quietly, "No, we need a different approach." Back on the space station, Anderson was meeting with representatives from the breakaway systems. They wanted to know how Earth had stayed independent, how they had developed their technology. "The answer is simple," Anderson explained. "We chose cooperation over conquest. Every breakthrough, every discovery was shared across all of Earth. We advanced because we worked together, not against each other." The station's quantum displays showed new reports coming in every hour. The Rigel system had voted for independence. The Tav Ceti colonies had formally requested Earth's protection. The mighty Empire was beginning to crack. In Earth's Defense Command, Admiral Walker watched the political chaos spread across the galaxy. "Send the message," he ordered. Minutes later, every world in the galaxy received the same transmission. Earth announces the formation of the Protected Systems Accord. Any civilization that wishes to claim its independence will be guaranteed protection from military aggression. We offer our shield to any who seek freedom. The response was immediate. Dozens of systems signed up within hours. The Empire, which had spent centuries building its power through fear and force, watched helplessly as its authority melted away. Anderson stood before the station's full assembly, looking at the faces of beings from across the galaxy. "Earth doesn't want to rule you," he said simply. "We don't want your resources or your loyalty. We only want to ensure that every civilization has the right to choose its own path." In a private chamber nearby, an Imperial diplomat approached Anderson. "The Emperor requests a private meeting," he said quietly, "to discuss terms." Anderson nodded, hiding his smile. Phase 5 was complete, but it had worked better than anyone on Earth had expected. They hadn't just stopped the Empire. They had shown the galaxy that empire building itself was obsolete. As he prepared for the meeting, Anderson looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans were already helping their new allies build their own quantum communication networks, teaching them about zero-point energy, showing them how to defend themselves. The age of empires was ending. The age of cooperation was beginning. And it had all started because Earth had simply said no to being conquered. The Imperial warship Crown's Glory hung dead in space, its crew watching in silence as its sister ships powered down their weapons. Captain Rogers, once a loyal Imperial officer, had just given the order that would echo across the galaxy. We will not fire on civilians. 3 days earlier, the mining colonies of the Vega system had declared independence. The Empire had sent its fleet to crush the rebellion. But something had changed in the hearts of Imperial soldiers since the Battle of Saturn's Rings. In Earth's Defense Command, Admiral Walker watched the scene unfold through quantum feeds. Another fleet stands down, he noted. That's the 5th one this week. The revolution wasn't happening with battles or bloodshed. It was happening with simple refusals, quiet decisions, and brave choices made by thousands of beings across the galaxy. On the neutral space station, Ambassador Anderson met with the crew of the Crown's Glory. "You're not deserters," he told them. "You're pioneers. Earth welcomes those who choose peace over power." The station's quantum displays showed similar scenes playing out across Imperial space. Whole fleets were refusing orders. Colonial governors were declaring their worlds free. The Empire's grip was failing not from external force, but from internal change. Back on Earth, the UN Security Council reviewed the latest reports. Earth's Protected Systems Accord now covered over 30% of former Imperial space. But more importantly, their philosophy was spreading. "We're receiving interesting data," reported Dr. Lisa Brown, Earth's Chief of Technological Development. "The worlds we've helped are already starting to innovate in ways the Empire never allowed. When you free people to think and create, they surprise you." In the Centauri system, once the Empire's proudest colony, the local government had just finished installing its first quantum communication network, built with Earth's guidance. Their scientists, finally free to explore without imperial restrictions, were making discoveries that amazed even Earth's experts. Admiral Walker stood before a holographic map of the galaxy, watching the colors shift as more systems declared independence. The Empire's red was being replaced by a rainbow of sovereign nations. "Send the next package," he ordered. Each newly independent world received a basic set of Earth's defensive technologies, enough to protect themselves without becoming a threat to others. It was a delicate balance, but it was working. On the Imperial Throne world, Emperor William received the daily count of systems lost to the revolution. But these weren't losses to Earth. They were losses to the very idea of empire itself. "They're not just leaving us," he told his advisors, his voice heavy with realization. "They're leaving behind the whole concept of being ruled." In the Rigel shipyards, once the pride of imperial military production, workers were now converting warships into exploration vessels. The massive weapons factories were being rebuilt to create medical equipment and scientific instruments. Captain Rogers, now leading the group of former imperial officers, addressed a meeting of newly independent worlds. "The Empire taught us that power comes from weapons and fear," he said. "Earth showed us that real power comes from cooperation and innovation." Ambassador Anderson, watching the speech through Quantum Link, smiled. Humanity's greatest export wasn't their technology, it was their ideas. The concept that worlds could be both independent and interconnected, that progress came through cooperation rather than conquest. "Phase 6 is more than complete," he reported to Earth Command. "The revolution isn't just succeeding, it's evolving beyond what we planned." Across the galaxy, the change was visible from space. Worlds that had once bristled with weapon platforms now hosted research stations. Trade routes that had once carried imperial warships now carried scientific expeditions and cultural exchanges. Earth had not only refused to be conquered, they had shown the galaxy how to rise above the need for conquest itself. The revolution wasn't being fought with weapons. It was being won with ideas, powered by hope, and guided by the simple principle that had started it all: the right of every world to chart its own course among the stars. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Saturn's Rings. The grand hall of the new Galactic Assembly sparkled under the light of 3 suns, its crystal dome reflecting the colors of the nebula above. This neutral station, built by Earth's advanced technology, hosted representatives from over 200 formerly imperial worlds. Admiral Walker, now retired, stood at the main podium. His formal uniform had been replaced by simple civilian clothes. Behind him, the imperial throne, once the symbol of absolute power, was being transformed into a museum piece. A year ago, Walker began. Earth revealed itself to the galaxy by saying no to an empire. Today, we gather not as rulers and subjects, but as equals. In the audience, former Emperor William sat quietly. He wore the simple clothes of a citizen, no different from anyone else. The man who had once commanded millions of worlds now represented just one system in the new Galactic Assembly. Ambassador Anderson, watching from his seat, remembered how it had all started with a simple holographic wall and a message: access denied. Now, the remaining imperial systems were voluntarily joining the new Sovereign Systems Alliance, not through force or fear, but through choice. Our greatest achievement, Walker continued, wasn't our technology or our defenses. It was showing the galaxy that there's strength in independence and power in cooperation. The quantum displays around the hall showed scenes from across the galaxy. The former imperial shipyards at Rigel now produced research vessels and humanitarian aid ships. The military academies had become universities, teaching science and culture instead of conquest. Professor Anna Miller, who had once demonstrated Earth's quantum technology to amazed imperial scientists, now led a galaxy-wide network of researchers. Together, they were making discoveries that would have been impossible under the Empire's restrictive rule. Each world in our alliance remains truly free, Walker explained. Earth doesn't command, we coordinate. We don't rule, we assist. The age of empires is over. The age of cooperation has begun. In orbit above them, ships from 100 different worlds moved peacefully through space. Their designs were as varied as their origins, but they all carried the same quantum communication systems, the same defensive technologies that Earth had shared. Commander Robert Wilson, who had orchestrated the Battle of Saturn's rings, now trained defense forces from newly independent worlds. The best defense, he told his students, is the one you never have to use. Earth's power wasn't in our weapons. It was in our choice not to use them. The assembly hall erupted in applause as Walker announced the final dissolution of the imperial government. But this wasn't a celebration of defeat. It was a celebration of transformation. Former imperial officers sat next to colonial leaders they had once fought against, all working together for a better future. The empire taught us that greatness comes from power over others, the former Emperor William said, taking his turn at the podium. Earth showed us that true greatness comes from helping others find their own power. As the ceremony concluded, Ambassador Anderson received a message from Earth's Defense Command. The last imperial military installation had just voluntarily converted into a scientific research station. The transformation was complete. When we first revealed ourselves, Anderson told the assembly, many thought Earth was just establishing a new empire. But we had a different vision. We didn't want to rule the galaxy. We wanted to free it. The crystalline dome above them sparkled as ships from across the galaxy performed a peaceful formation flight. There were no weapons, no shows of force, just a demonstration of unity and cooperation. Earth had done more than ban an empire from its borders. They had shown the galaxy how to move beyond empires altogether. The simple message that had started it all, entry forbidden, had evolved into something greater, an invitation to all worlds to forge their own paths among the stars, united not by force, but by choice. The new galactic order wasn't built on fear or power. It was built on a simple truth that Earth had known all along. The greatest civilizations don't conquer. They cooperate. They don't dominate. They elevate. And in doing so, they create something far stronger than any empire could ever be. A galaxy of equals, united in their diversity, stronger in their independence, and free to chart their own course through the cosmic sea.